gentlemen, welcome back to another Wednesday. It's time for another stream, and here we are. What's going on? We have several people already in the chat. Gonna calm that intro clip down. We have Kyle, John, Max, Tech ASMR, Granny, Randomly Set, and others. Welcome everybody. Okay, it's time again. It's a Wednesday. Let me get rid of the headphones real quick. I apologize in advance if there is any oddness with the stream. YouTube is telling me my speeds aren't good, even though they're fantastic. So we're just gonna have to go with it and see what happens. Yeah, interesting week so far. It's kind of that awkward, end of the year, trying to finish things up, trying to look back on what the past year looked like, looking forward into what 2019 is going to look like, and just finishing up all those odds and ends. But yeah, right. What I'm trying to do, I think, next year is figure out how not to let the year get away from me. 2018 just vanished, and I wanted to do quite a bit more with the channel as well as the guides I've been producing. So that's been interesting. So I'm hoping to maybe try something a little different and do a couple days a week working on the channel and a couple days a week working on other projects. So we're trying that here at the end of the year, and all day today and probably for the rest of the week, I have been working hard at getting this Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K video guide done. Man, that's a mouthful. So this thing's been at my desk running a gazillion tests. The more I work with this camera, the more I really, really like it. It is amazing how much is packed in here. Obviously, people talk about RAW and ProRes and all that kind of thing, but there's so many little details that they just got so right on this camera. Also, I would love to know if you guys are interested in seeing a tutorial on how to remove the dumb tabs on the covers that go over. Come on, camera. Any day now, A6500. You can do it. You can do it with the focus. There it is. So I removed those stupid tab covers on the side of the camera, and wow, is it so much better to use. And you can do it without destroying the camera. At any rate, that's going to be a fun guide because there is so much to unpack with this thing, and really looking forward to releasing that. So that's going to be hopefully happening before too long. I got to finish writing the guide, which is just unbelievable amounts of testing and running through all that stuff, and then filming it and editing it and all that good stuff. So let's jump into some questions, shall we? 2 quick notes. Number 1, if you're going to ask a question, please tag me in it. So at DSLR Video Shooter, that'll make sure I see your question. And obviously, I love seeing you guys having conversations in here. But if you have a question, if you do that, that really pops out to me, and I can make sure I get that covered. Thing number 2. Right after this stream, I'm headed over to Jem Schofield's stream. The link is right below this video in the description, and we're doing something really fun. We run for those who don't know, we run a show called Camera and Flask. We do it live every single Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern, and we're going to be talking about camera kits, and essentially we're doing a challenge together. We're pretending we lost everything, and we've got 15 grand to spend on a complete new video kit. Everything, right? Camera, lenses, lighting, audio, support, everything goes into that $15,000. And each of us separately have gone on B&H's website and built out our fresh new kit. And we're going to be sharing what we chose in that episode right after this stream. So that's going to start in roughly an hour, a little less than an hour. Gonna be lots of fun. I'm really curious to see what the other guys picked. And yeah, it'll be fun. So let's jump into some questions. I saw somewhere here from Original Video Reviews, Caleb, give a word about the YouTube rewind. I just spent the whole day laughing. It was really terrible. And the last several years, I didn't really look into see what other people thought. For those who don't know, YouTube rewind, every single year YouTube does a video where they kind of rewind and look at the past year. And it's pretty bad. In the previous years, I always thought it was because I'm an old fart and I don't know 98% of the people in the video. But this year, I guess the best way to put it, I really resonated with Marcus Brownlee's video he did recently. over at MKBHD. I just think they're turning it into a video to, you know, make themselves look good in front of advertisers. It's no longer kind of a look at what happened on YouTube in that year. So it's kind of my thoughts on that. Wow, lots of people in. Great to see everybody. All kinds of different countries. It's amazing. What's up, Alex, one of our members? Good stuff. What's your preferred format to shoot on the Pocket 4K? I mean, anything goes, anything works. I haven't fully tested it, but it looks like the more compressed RAW, so like the 3:1, 4:1, is pretty solid compared to lossless. And I have some pretty advanced media that I've been testing, and nothing can record 4K, Cinema 4K 60 lossless for more than a couple seconds. You know, it's ridiculous. So we'll see what that looks like, but I'm really enjoying ProRes. You know, if you expose correctly, it's pretty good stuff. So let's go down here. Have you ever tried the black ProMIS filters from Loris? I have not. I definitely want to get one. I always go back and forth as to which strength I want, though, because people kind of go back and forth as to what they recommend there. But that looks pretty sweet. Peter says, have you shot with the Ursa Mini? I have not. Actually, well, I take that back. I sort of did on a project I worked with someone else, but I personally didn't work with the camera. Thick is a pickle has a pickle. Wow. All right. And what else we got here? From Havmoller, when do you think it's time to invest in video lights? When do you think? I think it should be pretty early on. If I were starting over, I would put more emphasis on lighting than I would camera. So if you have a smaller budget, I would put a higher percentage toward lighting than your camera. Because cameras, as I've said in the past, I think it's kind of becoming underwear. We swap them out. They're just little sensors we attach to our lenses. But lighting, man, that makes the biggest difference. Let's see here. How are you liking the Nikon Z6? Still haven't really had time to shoot with it. Trying to get the guide out on this guy. I'm hoping to. I already shot the rest of the videos for the year pretty much. So I'm hoping the next set of videos I'm going to shoot with the Nikon Z6, and that way I can start to actually use it. We talked about rewind. Let's see. Best lens for shooting conference presentations from Joseph Floyd with the G7. You definitely want something fast. If you don't need a super close-up lens, a great budget, faster option than a kit would be that 14 f2.5. So something like that, or look at one of the 1.8s if you want native. If you're not going native, you know, there's a gazillion options there. Right, moving right along. Aaron, reposting this question, tagging you. Love to get the details on your OBS settings if possible. Could you post those somewhere? That program is a minefield. It really is. I should probably do a full video breaking down the OBS setup. I would start right now. I would start with ePost Vox here on YouTube. He has lots of OBS stuff. So if you want to learn about that, check out his channel. There's just a couple you got to get kind of tweaked there. And then most of the work is in your scenes. I believe they're called scenes. Yeah, scenes, where you can nest them and create all this ridiculous stuff like, you know, doing that and all that kind of stuff. So maybe we'll talk about that in a video. Or shoot me an email and I'll maybe do some screenshots for you. How about that? Let's see. Where was I at? Here we go. Here we go. Shooting conference room settings. Cool. Okay. iPad Mini asks, going to place a DSLR on a drone sometime, maybe for a co-op with someone. Another question here. How do you gather cast and crew to small to no budget project? How do you gather cast and crew to a small... So there's some sites out there. If you don't know of anyone locally, also I realize my microphone might be messing up my autofocus. Shoot, what was the site, guys? You all would instantly know probably. Where you can find crew. It's killing me. It's a great site. It's a great place to have a profile. What's it called? Help me out, guys. I'm sure one of you will hook us up, but stay tuned for that. That's a good question. You should do one for $1,000 budget. Yeah, I think it'd be fun if we did a series. So we're starting with 15 grand. That covers everything. We're talking batteries, SD cards, the whole 9 yards in the stream right after this one over at Jem Schofield's, link in the description. But yeah, I think it'd be fun to do different budgets because I'm pretty sure all of us are going to pick a cinema camera. I kind of cheated. I did 2 kits. So I did one using a cinema camera and one with 2, more budget-friendly cameras. So it should be interesting. Yeah, people are going to go back and forth. Only 15 grand. That's actually, yeah, 15. It goes quick. It really does. But yeah, we should do more in the future. Do you recommend the Ninja 5? Yes, I love that thing. Just as a monitor, much less a really, really solid video recorder. Let's see here. I recently bought an XT3 with a kit lens. What would you recommend from third-party lenses, Samyang, 7 Artisans, etc.? I haven't really tried all the 7 Artisans. It's really interesting. Chinese optics are really starting to get pretty good, but they're not quite there. So if I'm in your shoes, I'm going to go vintage. I'm going to go with Nikon, kind of their older Nikon AIS manual stuff. Russian would be great. I really enjoy Jupiter lenses on my XH1 and now XT3. So doing that with an adapter or getting a speed booster, because you can get a lot of manual only speed boosters very affordably. Yeah, we'll talk about that maybe in the future. But yeah, I would start there. How do you handle collaborations, both for fun and / free and paid work? How do you find people you can trust? Because I have trouble doing it all myself. From Rhett Thompson. That's a tough question. Fun and for free and for paid work, that's really, really hard. You just kind of got to get out there and go for it. Obviously, finding groups online helps a lot with that kind of thing. Maybe it depends on the type of work too. That's a really tough one. I would try to connect with some people online. Channels like this, like asking people where they're from and trying to get people involved, is a great way to go. I wish there was a good resource for that. Wouldn't that be a Facebook groups? I know there's a lot of that stuff that could help out. Good question though. It's a tough one. When do you think it's time to invest in video lights? We talked about that. Thoughts on Luminar? I'm not sure what that is. Let me pull up a tab here and search for it. Luminaire. Is that a... Oh, is that... Isn't that like color stuff for Adobe? Give me some more information there. Maybe I can help you out. I'm about to shoot a music video on Sunday, and I need to shoot a long hallway dolly shot with my camera. Is a tripod dolly a good enough solution? Probably not. I mean, it depends what the floors are like, but unless it's like perfectly smooth concrete floors, those usually won't quite cut it. That's an interesting question. If you have a gimbal, you could try that, or do a combination. Have that tripod dolly set up. And by dolly, I'm taking, you just mean wheels on sticks on wheels, unless you're talking about a full legit dolly, in which case that might do the trick. But yes, I would probably, you could do a combo. Put the gimbal facing down on sticks, on wheels, and do a test. See if that's going to do the trick for you. Let's see here. Or, a wheelchair. Someone sitting in a wheelchair with a gimbal. That might be your best bet. Something like that. Right. Moving down here. Which microphone would you recommend for my Sony a7 II as my first microphone ever? For Sony cameras, a good place to start is the Rode Video Micro. You can get an extension cable and use it as a boom mic. It's good stuff. I would probably start there, depending on what your budget is. Otherwise, Asden, the SMX15, or I just did a video on my favorite audio gear, and I talk about some good recommendations in there. Wondering, this is from Tucker, just wondering if you'd recommend in terms of a budget cinema camera. I've been considering things like the FS5, FS700, but not sure. Any thoughts? So first, I would think 4K or 1080. If you are okay with 1080 and depending on your budget, the C100, the original C100, would be a good place to start. Otherwise, if you're looking at those two cameras, I think either one's going to do a great job. If I was still doing freelance, I'd probably own the FS5. Not because of the color or the image necessarily, although it's not a bad image. Because that camera, I feel it would make money. It would save so much time, right? You don't need ND filters. It has an electronic ND. Man, that's super duper solid. It's small, lightweight. You can throw it on a gimbal. That's probably what I would end up with. And you throw a 4K recorder on it, like the Shogun Inferno, and now you're doing RAW, and you're able to do, I think it's 120 at 4K, 120 frames per second at 4K RAW. Pretty sick. Burst mode, you can't do it continuously. And then up to 240 in HD, I think. So I think that's a great way to go. The FS700 is going to be a more awkward, similar setup. You're not going to have the electronic ND, but you do have ND, and it has pretty much the same sensor and specs, roughly, right? So both those, you're done. You're good, I think. I wish it was more Canon colory, like down the road when the C200 is super cheap or more affordable. That's going to be pretty awesome. All right, moving on. What do I use to record my screen? I use QuickTime or OBS. OBS does a great job at recording your screen without chewing up too much of your CPU power. Next question is from Alan. Panasonic G6 is going to cut it. Is my Panasonic G6 going to cut it for future films? You know what? I don't know much about the G6. Lower bitrate footage, you know, I guess it depends on how far you want to take it, what the technical requirements are of these film festivals you're talking about. But hey, if you can put more money toward actors, lighting, locations, then I'm sure you can make it work. What is the best cinema camera to look into? I have this A7 III and A7R2. Depends on your budget. Let me know, because there's a lot of cinema cameras out there. Is the Ursa in your 15K package? No, it's not the Ursa. You should do a challenge, but $1,000, absolutely. We talked about that a little bit earlier, but we might do some more kits like that. For those who recently tuned in, we're doing that kit video after this one live over at Gem Schofield. Link is in the description. From Rushi, MacBook Pro 2017 or MacBook Air 2018, which one for video editing in Premiere? I would ask that question to Max Yuriev, because I don't know squat about the current MacBook offerings. I've always been a desktop guy, so couldn't tell you, unfortunately. Sorry. Moving on, we've got Black Warrior Lures. Panasonic S1S with Super 35 chip, under 3,000 likely. Not sure what you mean there. Is that something I'm missing? Is S1S something new? Or are you talking about the S1R? If you're talking about the S1R, the higher resolution one, I doubt it's going to be. I think it's going to be more than 3,500. I think the S1 is going to be around 3,500, or the cheaper of the two. What's more important to you, sound or lighting? Oh, that is a tough one. I mean, if you're doing you got to have sound, right? I probably would take good sound over lighting, but I would really hate that. Yeah, I would say I'm going to focus more on sound than lighting, but usually you can get that sorted out. If I'm really in a rush, yes, I won't set up lights. I'll just do sound. Black Pro Mist. I wanted these for sharp Micro Four Thirds lenses, so I got eighth power. If I'm shooting fast, they get one each. I can double them. Oh, okay. What do you think about that, Rhett? You dig in the eighth, or do you wish you had a quarter? Is it just me or the price of Micro Four Thirds speed boosters for Canon mount move up in price? I don't think so. Not from Metabones. I think the prices are still the same. This is from Jazz Swin J. I'm having trouble Problem upgrading my camera, so I'm in a dilemma. I love the A6500 for the capabilities on 4K and low light, but the screen makes me want to stay with Canon, but no 4K. You got to pick what are the most important things to you. So that's going to be your deciding factor. I would pick, make a list of the five most important things and the ones that are deal breakers, and then you just got to go for it, really. What is your preferred settings on the A7 III? Well, it's kind of a loaded question. I did a guide on it recently. You can check that out in the description as well, where I have, I think I put it as my guides or my camera guides. And we go through every possible setting, and I share my settings with you there. We're going to be talking about Sony A7 III and Sony color in general here in 2019, so stay tuned for that too. What are your thoughts on the M50 speed booster? The M50, I know everyone loves it. I haven't really done a review yet. I did that first impressions video, and I know everyone loves it, but I just really don't care for that camera. I know it's pretty much the best tiny 1080p camera out there right now, but I just do not enjoy it personally. So with a speed booster, but at that point you're starting to look at a different budget range, so I don't know. That's a tough call. But I'm sure the speed booster would be great for that 4K, although you'd lose autofocus and other stuff. So just wanted to let you know you are so helpful, way more helpful than certain other people. Thank you, Redford. Appreciate it. It's very, very nice of you. I always like to be helpful. I hope all this is helpful. I'm planning to buy a GH5, but I want to know, how bad is the noise in Vlog around 800 to 16 ISO? You're not doing too bad at that range. 800, you're not bad at all. In fact, I think 800 is native in Vlog. 16, you're probably okay. In my guide, I go through everything and talk about, because when it comes to ISO, there's not just noise, there's color shifting. So at a certain point, you'll start to see noise that looks gross, and you don't want to shoot that high. But also, at a different certain point, usually it's a different level, color starts to either desaturate and or shift. So red will become magenta or orange. Blues will become kind of green or a different color. So in each camera guide that I do, I go through all the settings and I figure out right when color starts to die. And that's usually where I personally stop. So you can run this test yourself. Just film yourself with a color chip chart and run through the settings, and you'll start to see, where it's going to fall apart. But since you don't have the camera, I would say you're pretty safe at 16. I think 32 to 4 something, you start to get kind of just a little bit hairy. So hopefully that answers your question. I think you'll be fine. I'm going to take a hit of coffee here while I read this next one. Do you have any tips for shooting 2.35 on the G7? You could, put a piece of tape on the monitor. Otherwise, using a monitor like the one I happen to have right here, this Andy Cine, which I'll be talking about next week, actually, would do a good job because you can turn it on, have it, crop that for you. And there's most cheap monitors. Well, I shouldn't say that. A lot of monitors have that option for you. Do you have any tips on we talked about that. Great question, Ido. And from original video reviews, FYI, photo stores in my current area began quoting you when they want to sell you something, which is really awesome. Quoting. When will the A7S III finally come out? Give us hope, DSLR video shooter from Skunk Equinox. No idea. It'll happen. It might be NAB next year. I think it's probably going to be around then, but there's rumors just recently that it might be sooner. So we'll see. Staff me up, ? From Alex. Not sure what that means. Let me know. Kevin says, have you tried any of the cheaper Aperture 120D like lights? Studio Essentials makes one, for example, for around $200. Multiple 120Ds is out of my price range currently. Thanks. I have worked with the Godox kind of version of that, right? no battery power. It's just plugged in. Also next week, we're supposed to be releasing a video on a 300D and 120D alternative that's bicolor and cheaper with a built-in battery. So stay tuned for that. That should be pretty fun. So I would watch that video first. Otherwise, Godox, all those other options are good, like the Godox style SL60 100 stuff. But you're going to see kind of a color quality drop for sure. That's really where you see it. Also, the build quality isn't as good, but it'll get the job done. You mentioned 14mm for wide on conferences. Tagging onto that, would you suggest any zoom for close-ups as well? Yes, it's just zooms are usually going to cost you a lot more to get a fast zoom. And I take it you don't have a lot of light in these conferences, so that's where a long prime might be helpful, but then you're stuck with one, focal range. But yes, I would try shooting with a kit lens and see what 5.6 looks like if it's too dark for you. Jumping down. Ooh, we got a big conversation here. Sweet. Let's see where I lost my spot. Every so often it pushes things, or if the chat gets too long, then it bumps me down. So that's sucky suck. All right, finding my spot. There it is. Can the Zoom H5 be used as an on-camera microphone? Yes, if you have. I think that one has the attachments, right? Or is that a fixed mic? I used to use the Zoom H4n as my main mic for a long time. Wouldn't recommend it because of the stereo and it picks everything up, but it can work. What's up? Justin Brown, Primal Video. All right, I'm going to scroll down here, catch up with everybody who's asking questions. And for those who may have recently joined, I'm answering the questions with the orange tag that says DSLR Video Shooter. So it won't be orange for you guys, but if you tag me at DSLR Video Shooter, those are the questions I'm trying to hit. That way I can kind of skim over the conversations that you beautiful people are having amongst each other. From Caleb Hart, what's going on, Caleb? Is the small rig quick release cage for the A7 III worth it? Is that the one where it like bolts onto the adapter? I can't recall which one that is. I like pretty much all their cages, so I don't know if you can really go wrong. Yeah, so I'm sure you'll be fine with it. Moving on down from Kyle, moving back to Micro Four Thirds for video. Have you seen anything from the Zcam E2 Pro? Trying to pick between that and the Blackmagic. Need 4K slow-mo. I might pre-order that camera. I'm still undecided. Let me know if you guys want to see anything on that. We'll see. Maybe. But I have not seen anything from normal humans, so we'll have to wait and see. Looks really interesting, though. Is there a speed booster for FD lenses on the EOS M? That's a good question, Nolina, but I do not know. I don't think so. Was hoping for something under 10K Canadian. Oh, he's talking with Alan. Awesome. Alan's in the house somewhere. There he, Kim's in here too. Sweet. Everyone on the membership Discord, blow up my phone for me so I talk to you guys this week. It's been a wild ride and I have some updates, so let's get that taken care of, shall we? And for the rest of you, it's just going to be just mystery. Why Premiere over DaVinci Resolve? I don't like Premiere actually, so I don't know what you mean by that. Maybe I missed something. I'm a Final Cut guy. Maybe DaVinci Resolve in the future. Premiere, I'm not really that big of a fan. Not that I've got anything against people that use it, but personally, not really interested. Panasonic S1S. I'm speculating as to the future S version of the S1. Aha, gotcha. That's a really tough question when you're talking about $3,500 earlier. So I really don't know. But it's going to be more if they do the S thing again. We'll have to wait and see. Okay, we're moving along, jumping down here. Again, if you got questions, tag me and let's dive in. Dennis Porter, can you do a review? One of our members, all those beautiful faces in green, or the green names with the little tags there. Can you do a review of the Falcon Eyes BL30TD? It's a bicolor version of the 300D. I bought 3 of the Falcon Eyes Flex lights on your recommendation and thrilled with them. Well, darn it, Dennis, you guessed it, or you didn't guess it, but you mentioned what we're talking about next week. So that's the lights that we're going to be fully testing. We'll actually be comparing it to the 300D, as well as this little brother, which I believe is the BL10 TD, both bicolor. So those are coming up, I promise. So yes, we will review those. All right, scrolling down here a little bit. Oh wait, I missed one from Alex. Since you no longer do freelance, do you make your income from your channel and educational tutorial work you put out? If so, that's awesome. Congrats for being able to do that. Thank you, Alex. And yes, that fortunately and very blessed that that's the case. I can't remember, 3 years ago or so, 4 years ago, switched from doing freelance to this full time. And it was a long, the channel's been up for almost, as of February, wow, I'm really tired. February of 2019, the channel this whole business will be 9 years old. So it wasn't overnight, that's for sure. Yeah, and it was a slow transition. I didn't just, stop full-time and then switch full-time to the channel. It was, just slowly reducing the amount of gigs I was taking, slowly increasing the workload here on the channel. So thank you. That's very kind of you. And I appreciate you. Original video reviews. Can you recommend thin, long LEDs for green screen that I can mount on an auto pole? I'm working in relatively small space. Square panels take up too much room. So a really budget-friendly version of that would be the Quasars. They're going to have good color. They're not going to flicker on you. Otherwise, you could get pretty much any LED strip roll of it off of Amazon, as long as the CRI is good. And then all you need is 12 volts. For most of those, you need just 12 volts. So you could rig something up. You could rig something up yourself for pretty affordably. Otherwise, what is it? $75 a pop, something like that for the Quasars. Holy balls! There's a whole bunch of questions here. So there's all these like empty spaces, and then bam. All right, best budget. Wait, did I miss one? Did I miss one? I did miss a couple. All right, we're gonna lightning round here. Can you recommend thin? Oh, we did that. GH4 with a Ninja 5 or Blackmagic Pocket 4K. I would definitely do the Blackmagic Pocket 4K. The sensor is going to be much better than the GH4 from Black Warriors. Hey, Caleb. This is from Martin. Thinking about upgrading from the A6300. Would you recommend the A7 III or the XT3 for client work? For video, I'd probably choose the GH5, but I also shoot stills. Either is going to do a great job. XT3 is going to have higher image quality, but a smaller sensor. And the A7 III's got that big, fat, full frame. Better battery life, that's important, right? So I would factor those things in. If you love Sony and you enjoy using your A6300, then the A7 III could be a good move up. Okay. Does Canon 80D is good enough to do a music video? Absolutely it is. From Jazzwin. From Nil. I'm interested in upgrading my A6300. Recommendation for running gun, gimbal work 2, under $2,000. Lenses that cover all range. XT3 would be good for that. A7 III would be good for that. Take those into consideration. Jumping down here, Tucker, best budget cinema camera, less than 10 grand, less than 5 grand. I would watch the last live stream. We went over a ton of budget-friendly cinema cameras. I would also add to that list that we did last week, the FS5 would do a good job for you. Best budget, we talked about that one. Nick's in here with the question, aside from the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K camera guide that you're coming out with, will you have shorter impression video to be posted on your normal channel? Potentially. I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do with cameras in the future. Do I want to do a first impressions video, a review, and then a 3 months later video? I find I'm really enjoying, maybe a first impressions isn't a bad idea, but I find I enjoy spending lots of time and doing a guide on the camera, because by the time I'm done with a guide, it is ridiculous. I mean, pretty much there's no stone left unturned. So usually when I do a review, it's after I've done that guide. So I know that camera backward and forwards, and I can really talk about, my thoughts. So maybe we'll see. Sorry, I didn't really answer your question, but potentially. Best value zoom lens for the GH5S with autofocus during video. My two favorite budget, so there's the 12 to 35 2.8, the 35 to 100 2.8. They're pretty much the best, like 24 to 70 equivalent cameras or lenses. Budget versions of those are the 12 to 60 f2 3.5 to 5.6, and then there's a 45 to something that's like under $200. Both those are great lenses to start with. Otherwise, the primes are good too, but you're talking about zooms. Paulo, I was looking for new lenses to use on my GH5 with a speed booster. Any recommendations? Also, Zoom F1 versus H5, your honest opinion. I haven't used the Zoom stuff in a long time. They'll both do a decent job, I'm sure, for you. Lenses with a speed booster. We're going to do another stream like we did last week's stream. We did used cinema cameras that you can get, great prices on. I want to do that with lenses as well. Lots of lens content, specifically manual vintage, coming up next year. So stay tuned for that. I don't know what you have, but Rokinon's a good place to start if you want kind of a cinema style lens for use with a speed booster. KRM, hey man, would you say a bunch of Blackmagic Pocket cinema cameras can kickstart a production company? I think the people would kickstart the company, but if you're starting a company and looking for a bunch of cameras, specifically kind of studio mode, absolutely. You can skip a lot of silliness with this camera because you're straight to ProRes, and you can move really quick in that regard. But it's you still got to buy more stuff, right, to get that to work. But it's a great camera. Do you have any plans to make a guide for the Ursa cameras? Probably not at this point. I'd love to make one for every camera, but that's just, these take a lot of work. There's a reason I only am able to do 3 a year. I'm hoping to do way more next year. But it just takes time, lots and lots of time. Any news on the Olympus? I don't know much about Olympus, unfortunately. I need to up my Olympus game. Any plans to do a video on shooting food and cooking? I would love to do, and I've been meaning to do this for a long time. You hear that all the time from me. A series on different scenarios and how to light and film them. So cooking videos or food, interviews in offices, conference rooms, sports, just all these different scenarios and how to deal with them from a video production perspective. And I would love to do one on food. So there's my roundabout answer. What millimeter length do you like best for studio vlogging as you are doing on a crop sensor? Thanks. These days I'm finding myself between 18 and 50 millimeters, depending on the sensor size. So 18 on the wide end, 50 on the long end. That's usually where I'm living. Often it's around 35 to 40 where I really enjoy and feel like that's a good sweet spot. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with that. Best gimbal for the A7 III with the 2047D G Master from Sophisticated. I would ask our good friend Kitty over at Atola Visuals, because I'm not that up to date on gimbals. I still have the original Zhiyun Crane. She's like the gimbal queen. So she's worked with a lot of different gimbals. I would check those out. Can we talk about picture quality between the 70D and the 5D Mark IV? I don't know that much about the differences aside from full frame versus a crop sensor. 5D4, I believe, has a higher data rate. those are some things to look into. What is the best lens for low light video on the GH5, high and low budget? Are we talking native or adapted? Let me know. Does the GH5 have its own metabones, or can you use one for the GH4? Oh, I think I know what you mean. There's two metabones you can go with. One that's designed for full frame lenses, one that's designed for crop. And that's pretty much the story for Micro Four Thirds. Will you ever make an online course? Yes, I have several. They're in the description under my guides or something down there. So yes, I'm hoping to do more than just camera guides. I would love to do different categories. Like I've had this dream to do this one for a long time called something like the Content Creator's Guide to whatever. It would essentially cover everything I've picked up from being a content creator and how to make videos and distribute them, bring other creators on, and do all kinds of crazy stuff there. So hopefully that'll happen someday soon. Shark, when shooting video, what is your preferred way to shoot? With external recorder or internally? For most of the stuff I do, it's internal. But if I'm doing a big gig, if I was doing like a commercial, I would probably do both, right? Can't hurt to have, everything going. Hey man, this is from Dan Watson. What's up, Dan? How you doing? Great channel. Everyone should go check it out. Curious, what your go-to for picture profile is on the A7 III. I lose my highlights crazy fast and I don't want to shoot S-Log. Unfortunately, I think S-Log is the answer with some tweaks. I talked about my guide. Hang in there, Dan. We're going to do a video here before too long on Sony color. I don't think people are doing themselves a service by not using S-Log. That said, S-Log is super hairy when not addressed correctly. So I know that's super cryptic. Shoot me an email. How about that? Info@DSLR Video Shooter, and we'll get that sorted. All right. Zcam is in stock right now at B&H. Cool. Does the GH5S have its own? We talked about that. I'm shooting a ballet this weekend, setting up a wide camera with the EOS R plus Ninja Flame. Do I go 4K 30 so I can crop 1080p output, or 4K 60 to catch the motion? Oh, this is Alan. What's up, Alan? How you doing, brother? Let's see. Ballet. That's a tough call, man. I guess it would depend on the low light scenario too, because if you crop in, even if you have the resolution but the noise is there, that could be an issue. Otherwise, yeah, if you think you're going to slow down just a couple times, shoot 4K. If you feel like you're going to, do lots of slow motion, then maybe go ahead and do that 1080p 60. All right, scrolling down here. All the members are coming out of the woodwork. Love it. Dude, Alex, love that new badge, man. Look at that. Triple star. Woo, that's hot. And then I immediately thought of the rewind video with what's his face at the beginning. Anyway, we're getting way sidetracked. Shark with another question. Hey Caleb, I use a Sigma Art 18 to 35 lens for indie filmmaking. Is there a better lens I should be using? It's a great lens. If you're on a crop sensor, that is a wonderful lens to go with. I would maybe experiment with some different focal lengths. Maybe try some more telephoto stuff. I wish the Sigma 50 to 100 was better than it is. But you could pretty affordably throw a Sigma 50 into that mix and kind of that lineup and start playing with that. I mean, 50s are just great lenses. What's up, wannabe? Welcome. Alexander says, Cine 1 underexposed on Sony looks better than S-Log on 8-bit cameras, in my opinion. Cool. Till Fisher. Hey. What do you think about using a smartphone as a monitor? I do it constantly. Panasonic cameras have some of the best Wi-Fi capabilities. I take that back. Yeah. Stepping back a moment. Canon is also very good, but I love Panasonic, specifically that field monitor app. So I don't know what you're shooting on, but every single day I'm using the field monitor paid for app. It's like $5. I've done a video on it on the channel, and I use that with Sony as well as Panasonic cameras. It works great on Sony as well. So good question. Mitch, I recently bought a new zoom lens, camera, and do a lot of quick zooming during my shooting. The lens feels tighter and less smooth. Do zoom lenses usually loosen up with use? Not stills ones. Because if you think about a stills zoom, like this one, this Panasonic 7 to 14. This thing is a photography lens, so it's designed to change the zoom and stay there while I'm taking photos, because you don't want the lens to like move around and slip around. When it comes to video, we want to be able to have smooth zooms. So if it's stiff right now, it's probably not going to loosen up. That's where looking at cinema zooms is good, but those are insanity when it comes to expense. So it's a tough call. It's really tough. I don't know what camera you're on, but if you like zooming a lot, Sony has one of the best zooming functions. You can be recording and zoom in and out using clear image zoom, and it works pretty great. So I would give that a shot. This is Tech Today. What's going on, dude? Do you have a lot of issues with noise on the GH5S? I'm finding myself using Neat Video all the time for shadows, even in Cine D at 24 frames per second. I really dislike Cinema like D, so I don't know if you're talking about all across the entire camera settings. Lots of noise, huh? Interesting. I might run a noise test if I were you. I found personally you're doing pretty good until I think 64 or 8,000, and then it starts to get really gross. Or it might be the shadows. It might be how you're exposing the footage. So try overexposing and pulling the footage down. Often that's actually cleaner than shooting low and pushing up. Does that make sense? So if you're exposing correctly, try going a little higher and bring that stuff down. That'll clean up your noise often. Let's see. Where did I leave off? Big jump. Nuts. All right, guys, unfortunately, I'm going to have to kind of jump back into the middle of the chat here. Holy cow. Where were we? Man, I wish they would stop doing that with the chat. That sucks. What's up, Bart? How you doing? All right, I'm just going to have to jump in here somewhere. Where in the world was I? Did I see Dutch video shooter in here too? Can you please review the DryCast S series LED lights and more aperture? Definitely more aperture. The DryCast, I found for the most part uses the same stuff as other companies and just rebrands it. So I don't know. I could be wrong, but I feel like in the past that's been their main thing. So I might, look at other brands first. I need to get pictures of a high glossy black marble. Any ideas on how to set up the light? How much light? You don't want reflections, right? That's what it sounds like you're looking for. So when it comes to reflective stuff, you want bigger lights. It sounds kind of like you want smaller lights to hide the reflections. But what actually works well is a large light source. That's going to evenly, bounce off of whatever this reflective thing is. So if I'm you, it's 2 by 3 meters. A large light source that you can, have that nice single line of reflection is going to look really good. It's the same concept with your eyeglasses. So you can see there's all this garbage here in my eyes. It's because I don't have a very large light source. If this tiny whiteboard that I'm bouncing off of was larger, it would be this nice, smooth, even reflection. Something to consider. Sometimes you don't want to fight it, you just want to embrace it, but embrace it in a big way. If that means lots of light and a huge sheet, that's a good way to go. Um, All right, the chat is all over the place. I'm going to go down toward the bottom to catch some of the latest stuff so you can repost your questions. We got a donation from Zach8133, $5 donation. He says, I really need to know the settings to get the least noise on my G85. Please grab one and tell me. With the G85, there's not too much you can do other than I would, again, like the GH5, I would overexpose and try pulling things down. So figure out where white clips and try not to do that, but then expose for your skin, go a little higher, and then in post, usually what I'll do is I'll grab the midtones and I'll pull that down. Often that cleans up your noise. Okay, so usually that kind of helps out. Thank you for the donation. And I don't know if there's much else you can do. I wouldn't try to turn on too much softening. You can do that in your photo style. Go in there and turn up the noise reduction, but I would test it before you use those settings. Are you supposed to be on Camera and Flask right now? Not right now, but in very short period of time, which is a great reminder. Thank you, Bart. Appreciate you. Bart's a great dude. You should check out his channel as well. He talks about video stuff. In about a little less than 3 minutes, I'm going to shut this party down, unfortunately, but start a new one up over at Jem Schofield's channel. So in the description, I'll grab a link and drop it in here for you guys. Going over to do another stream. We're going to be essentially setting up a cart with $15,000 worth of video gear, and it's a challenge to see what each of us come up with. So maybe our studio's burned to the ground and we got a check for 15 grand to go buy new gear. What would we choose? It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it, and I hope you'll join me. I dropped the link in the comment section below. It's also in the description. And that's every single week. We're doing a show over there at Camera and Flask. All right, we're going to dial in these last couple comments here. Why don't you like the 50 to 100 from Sigma? If you look up a couple reviews, you'll see some stuff there. FS7 versus Ursa 4.6. I haven't really worked a lot with either, but I would probably lean, that's a tough one. The FS7 probably. I've heard some funky stuff with the Blackmagic when it comes to reliability. You're doing a camera shootout. When is that coming? I can't tell you exactly when, but it is coming. Kind of my thoughts on all these recent batch or rash of cameras. Cine Like D or neutral. Zach coming in again with a donation. Thanks, man. $2. Cine D or neutral, or natural, excuse me. I like natural more. Cine Like D is weird. It does funky stuff to your skin, so I don't really care for it. Want to talk more about vintage lenses for a sec in a future video, Jordan? What's going on? We'll definitely be covering lots of vintage lenses. Do you have to get a license or approval from Panasonic when you do guides on their cameras? I bought your G85 one. It's excellent. Thank you, Michael. No, I don't. At least I don't think I have to. I don't infringe on any of their trademarks or anything like that. So hopefully that doesn't become a problem in the future. But yeah, good times. 4K recorders on 1080p cameras. Benefits? Not really. You probably won't get much of a benefit there. I will say, though, some of those 4K recorders will often get you better specs, right? So you'll get 422 sometimes, or 422, sometimes 10-bit. So it depends on the camera combination, but that can often be good. Okay, whew. That's going to do it for me, guys. Right after this stream, remember, we're going over to Jem Schofield's channel. He's actually live right now. I will be joining him and the rest of you over there in just a little bit. It would mean a lot to me if you guys at least showed up for a little bit and said hi. Subscribe to his channel. Jem is a wonderful human being, and he makes some great content. He just did a video on kind of a before and after studio remake, how he set it up, how he lit it. Love that guy, and I hope you guys join us over there in just a few moments. I'm going to hit the boys' room. I'm going to grab a drink, and we're going to settle in for a brand new episode of Camera and Flask. Again, link in the description. Here it comes in the chat. Boom. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hope you guys will join us over there. Otherwise, have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you in the next video.